Everybody, to our March 18th Select Board hearing, and would you please join me in the pledge? All rise. I pledge allegiance to the flag
of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Can I have a motion to approve the minutes of March 4th?
Approval of the minutes of March 4th.
Is there a second?
Second.
Discussion? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye, opposed, none. And also March 12th.
Approval of the minutes of March 12th, 2025.
Is there a second?
Second.
Discussion? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye, opposed, none. Thank you. The board will vote on...
Chairman,
Sir,
if I may ask a question, please, point of information.
certainly, go to the microphone.
Thank you. My point of information is in regards to the public business comment. We have moved it from a position of, being held in the beginning of the meeting, and now you have moved it to number 9. I believe the public deserves to have their comments heard early in this meeting.
Thank you. And I think when you were on the select board, they were last, and I know when Ellen was on the select board, they were last as well. So there's no set format, but thank you anyways.
All I'm asking for is, to follow the directive that we have set in the past, so we should really continue.
Who's we?
The town, community.
Thank you. If I may, the board will vote on hiring one of the 2 candidates interviewed on March 12th, 2025. David, do you have any comments?
It is an honor to be able to nominate or invite either of these people who put themselves out there with excellent credentials, and we're fortunate to have a town that can attract people of this quality, and so I'm prepared to vote when we get to that. Thank you.
Do you have a candidate in mind?
I do.
Okay, you want to share it?
Yes. Shall I make a formal nomination?
No, just mention who you're interested in.
Yes, Mrs. Cahill from Gloucester.
Thank you. D, comments?
I want to thank both candidates for their time and efforts throughout this process. Thanks to their dedication to public service and their willingness to serve our town. Both candidates demonstrated a strong commitment to our town, and I'm grateful for their interest in the position. As we move forward with one of the candidates, I'm excited about the next chapter for our community, and I know we will continue to work together to make this place a welcoming town and continue to make everyone thrive.
Would you like to make a suggestion of who you're going to vote for or would like to see?
I would like to hear what other board member will have to say, but I'm leaning toward Mrs. Cahill from Gloucester.
Thank you. Michael?
Thank you, Dan. I'd like to say to the public that we did a lot of research. I have a lot of conversations, looked into a lot of areas. There's only one direction. I'm not going to say much more, and my vote would be for Jill.
Maureen?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Thank you, residents of Danvers, for coming tonight. And let us remember, it's all about the town that we love. It is an honor for me to sit on this board, too. I think this is exciting. Both candidates were finalists. I'd like to thank all the boards, the volunteers, the residents, the employees for what they do day to day for our town. We need to remember that when Steve Bartha gave his notice, everyone knew about it. It spread like wildfire. With that being said, so many people found the opportunity to apply for his position. After numerous meetings. We did have a subcommittee, which this board did vote for the subcommittee. And I will say that the names of those subcommittee people were chosen, and we were very happy to see 5 other well-qualified and professional members on that committee. After so many meetings, 3 meetings, many resumes and applicants, as Bernie Lynch had mentioned before, there were a total of 31. We went through them, we analyzed them, we debated, we picked them apart. So it's with great pleasure that I would like to make a motion to nominate Jill Cahill as the next town manager pending contract negotiations.
Thank you. In reviewing all the candidates, all 31, and narrowing it down to 11, then 7, then 5, and then 3 to bring before this board for interviews. It was a long process. There was research was done thoroughly by Mr. Lynch. We have 3 pages of reference comments from both communities of both of the candidates that stayed. But reading some of the comments for Jill Cahill, she has the faith and respect of everyone that works for the city. She does a great job of balancing different interests, listening to people, and trying to build bridges. In this role was her ability to build relationships and actively listen to people with respect. That's a common theme in these comments. And I think that's why, at the end of the day, I chose Jill Cahill to be our next town manager. And there's a specific motion to be made, and I gave it to David, so I'll let you second it.
Okay,
if
that's fine.
okay.
Yeah, that's fine. And I just wanted to say that, she does demonstrate, the strong skills and expertise, strategic planning, economic development, capital improvements in public safety, operating a budget for our town. She has the required education that we feel is necessary, a master's in public administration and a bachelor in political science. She illustrates a desire to work well with residents, community, and boards, as you heard her during the interview the other night. Her leadership and management team, she really wants to work with. She wants transparency that we all want. We've all been saying that time and time again. And she has a passion, to me, it feels like, to help others. And remember, and when we asked her the question, if she makes a mistake, do you own it? And she said, yes, she does. She shows honesty, integrity, and is someone I feel we want for our town. Her commitment and passion to Gloucester, I feel that her commitment and passion will be here in Danvers, too. I feel Jill will take Danvers to the next level, is what we need. And her experience with working with grants, state and federal government is a benefit to Danvers. And her involvement with the schools, implementing policies and programs, is another asset for our town. Her leadership will showcase Danvers as a place to live, work, learn, and play.
Thank you. David, you have the legal motion.
The form of legal motion. I move that we appoint Mrs. Jill Cahill as town manager, subject to successful contract negotiations and a further background check.
Thank you. Maureen?
Second.
Okay. Any further discussion, board members?
Just want to thank the member, you, Mr. Chairman, and Maureen, Select Board Member Maureen, who was the chair of the subcommittee, for leading the way in this process. This is one of the most important decisions that we have to make as board members. And as a freshman, it was pretty heavy. And I also want to thank the resident volunteers who participated. Wally, we say Eric, Arthur, Caroline, and Stephen. So just want to thank all of them for the time they put into this process.
Thank you, Dee. We have a motion, we have a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? None. Thank you, board members. Dee, it was heavy lifting for you as a first year. Let me tell you, 18 years didn't make it any easier. Dee, would you work with me to negotiate the contract when we go forwards?
Sure.
Okay, so we'll do the background check first. Legal counsel will help us draft a contract, and we'll hopefully get this done in a month.
Okay.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you all. We're at Mr. Town Manager, would you send a smoke signal to Mr. Lynch in case he's not watching?
I thought I could go home now. I'm staying.
And thank you to Rodney,
We will
too.
confirm with the consultant.
Thank you. Thank you all for your patience in this long process. A public hearing will be held under Chapter 138 of the General Laws on the application of Packaging Center, Inc., DBA Super Stop and Shop, 301 Newbury Street, Dan Sinnenberg, attorney, for change of officers, directors at that location.
Good evening.
Welcome.
Good evening. Dan Sensabaugh, on behalf of the applicant, Packaging Center, Inc., doing business as Stop and Shop, here to request that the Select Board approve Stop and Shop's application for a change of officers and directors. Just want to let you know at the beginning that you won't notice any difference at the store level. None of these folks work at the store level, so customers shouldn't notice any difference in the store. The application seeks approval changes as follows. Roger J. Wheeler to be the new president, replacing Gordon Reed. Mr. Wheeler is also a director. Mary Lynn Phillips is replacing Jeff Deschelle as treasurer and director. Susan Sandville replacing Mr. Deschelle as secretary. Karen Lynn Mitchell replacing Dean Wilkinson as director. And lastly, Roger Yeager is remaining as a director. Each of these folks' queries have been provided to the board as part of the application, and the licensees in compliance with all citizenship requirements for these individuals. Accordingly, pending any questions, we respectfully request that the board approve Stop and Shop's application for the change of officers and directors. Thank you very much.
Madam Clerk, is all the paperwork in order?
It is.
Okay, thank you. Any questions from the board members? Dee?
Not a question, but a quick comment. On my way here, I got an email from a resident, Kathy, that spoke very highly of the management at Stop and Shop there. So we just want to make sure that whoever is coming on board keeps the same level of service. They participate a lot with police, the food for food pantry, and things like that. And it's also the store where I shop. So.
Yes. And the store management's not going to change.
Okay, thank you.
Maureen?
That's it.
I got the same comment, too, and thank you. And it's very nice of you to continue. It would be nice to continue to do those donations to the food pantry. Thank you.
So what the email said was that we have a partnership with Stop and Shop and the managers for the food pantry when they buy their fresh vegetables and fruit on a weekly basis, and discounts that you provide to the food pantry. So that's much appreciated in the community.
Okay, I'll make sure I remind my client of that valued partnership.
Very
Absolutely.
good, thank you. Mike?
No, I shop there too, thank you.
David?
No comments, and you're a great citizen.
Thank you.
What's the will of the board?
Move to
Oh, this,
approve.
excuse me, it's a public hearing. My apology. Anyone in the public comments? Motion to close the public hearing, please.
Motion to close.
Second?
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed, none. What's the will of the board?
Move to approve as presented.
Thank you. Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye, opposed, none. Thank you for coming.
Thank you very much. Thank you for your time.
A public hearing will be held under Chapter 138 of the General Laws on the application of a Costco Atlantic Liquors, Inc., DBA Costco Liquors, 11 Newbury Street, David Burns, manager for a change of manager of an all-alcoholic license at that location. Evening, sir. Please introduce yourself.
Good evening. My name's David Burns. I'm the current general manager at Costco Wholesale down the street in Danvers.
Now, is this the whole store, or just the liquor?
This is the whole store.
Okay, thank you.
Yes. So I just want to thank the clerk's office, Stephanie and Catherine, for assisting me with the application and getting it here presented for the board. The previous general manager, Greg Celentano, moved to the store in Dedham under the same position, and I'm coming here as the new general manager, and the information presented is for change of name as permittee.
Thank you. Questions, Dee?
No questions, thank you.
Maureen?
No questions.
Mike?
I shop there also. And I'm
Get
glad we're
around.
not talking about the liquor store, and I'm glad you didn't say, hi, Mike. No questions, thank you.
David?
Thank you, Dan. I really respect the longevity of so many employees at Costco. My glasses have been coming from Deanne at the optical counter for 31 or 32 years, I think. And the way you have some people there that have been there from day one, you must really treat your people nicely. And so, love to have you here, and the managers have always been great. Thank you.
Thank you. I appreciate
And
it.
Madam Clerk, I assume the paperwork is in order,
It is.
and you have a check?
I do.
Okay, very good. This is a public hearing. Anyone in the public? Hearing none, motion to close the public hearing, please.
Make a motion to close public hearing?
Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. What's the will of the board?
Move to approve as presented.
Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed, none. Thank you for coming. Good luck.
Thank you. Good evening.
Welcome to Danvers. The board will issue a proclamation in recognition of Motorcycle Awareness Month.
Town of Danvers proclamation. Whereas the motorcycle is a popular means of transportation for commuting, for touring, and for recreational purposes, and whereas there is an ever-present need for cooperation among drivers of automobiles, trucks, motorcycles, bicycles, pedestrians, who use our streets and highways in order to reduce accidents, injuries, and fatalities, and whereas it is crucial for all Massachusetts citizens and visitors to our area to increase their knowledge of the rules of the road and the rights and responsibility of all roadway users, and whereas there are hundreds of motorcycles owned and operated by our fellow citizen bikers, homeowners, and residents of Danvers, and 10 of thousands more visiting and touring our town from neighboring communities and states, and whereas numerous departments and organizations are committed to make our streets and highways safe for all vehicle-related transportation, urging and reminding drivers to check twice, save a life, motorcycles are everywhere. Now, therefore, we, the Select Board of the Town of Danvers, Massachusetts, join with the Governor of the Commonwealth of Massachusetts and all agencies and organizations to proclaim May 2025 as Motorcycle Safety Awareness Month in the Town of Danvers, and wish all who ride an enjoyable and safe riding season.
Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you. Would you care to go up? You came a little late. Want to go up and just say hello, introduce yourself?
Mr. Chairman, Gardner Trask, I was asked to help get this back on the agenda this year, and Paul Coe, who usually is here before you, sent just a brief statement to remind the board that there are more than 1,500 motorcyclists coming out of their winter doldrums. The spring is here, and they're ready to ride, and they want to remind people that there are last year in 2024, over 70 motorcyclists lost their lives, and one passenger as well. And in over 330 crashes occurred in Massachusetts, as reported by the Mass DOT. And so they asked, because this is a Motorcycle Awareness Month, they have to spread the other members to other communities for the presentation for the same proclamation, and we thank you for it. There are 637 registered riders in Danvers who appreciate your attention to this matter, and we just want to thank you. We have representatives from the American Legion Riders here today. I don't know if you want to say anything?
Sure. My husband and I are American Legion Riders. My husband's a Vietnam-era veteran, and this means so much to us, especially us. We do a lot of business in Danvers here. We do a lot with Operation Troop Support, Dick Moody. We're always in town helping some of the funeral homes. When a veteran is laid to rest, we escort from the funeral home to the cemetery. But not just there, we're always just coming through as, people that are spending money, enjoying things in Danvers, and we just want to make sure everyone is safe and aware pretty much in every town and city that we can in Massachusetts while we're out there riding.
Well, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Well, thank you. And thank you for your service, sir. We have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? None. Thank you. We'll get this. I don't think we have the proclamation right now.
Not yet.
Not
no.
yet. Okay.
We'll get it to the appropriate, Paul and the appropriate members of
Good.
the committee.
Very good. Thank
for
you.
your attention.
Thank you for
Thank
coming.
you very much.
The board will issue a proclamation in recognition of Arbor Day. Mr. D, would you read that motion?
Sure. Proclamation, Arbor Day. When Massachusetts Bay Colony was settled in 1630, the town of Boston had no trees, although there were thick forests in the area around the settlement on the Harbor Islands. And when the first settlers arrived on the Great Plains in the 1800s, they found miles of lush, rolling grasslands, but few, if any, trees. And the planting, maintenance, care, and removal of shade trees is a service purely public in its nature, undertaken for the common good. And the general law of the Commonwealth state, I quote, "The governor should annually issue a proclamation setting apart the last Friday in April as Harbor and Bird Day, recommending its observance by the public in the planting of trees, shrubs, and vines, particularly those attractive to birds, in the promotion of forest growth and culture." And whereas, I wasn't reading whereas, we realize the benefits derived from trees. They help beautify the landscape, cleanse and purify the air, moderate temperatures, reduce noise pollution, provide windbreaks, reduce runoff and erosion, provide habitats for wildlife, increase property values, and are part of our social fabric. Whereas we, the Select Board, do here proclaim Friday, the 25th day of April 2025, as Arbor Day in the town of Danvers.
Is there a second?
Second.
Discussion. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? None. Thank you. Anybody here representing trees to accept this? No?
There's not.
Thank you, Dee. Board members, with your permission, I'd like to take the next item as the update from Resilient Danvers. Any objections?
It's fine.
Fine. Yep, we're moving you up.
Move it to 7.
Move it to 7. You have to, we'll just switch.
Okay.
I don't
Mr.
think
Chairman,
the
if you give
chief
me a
will-
couple minutes to reshuffle my slide deck.
Oh, I'm sorry.
No worries.
Thank you.
Hi, I'm Tanya Jenkins, the Safety and Sustainability Coordinator for the town of Danvers.
Welcome.
Thank you. We've been asked to represent CASPER, which is the Climate Action, Sustainability, Preservation, and Resiliency Plan, which is why we call it CASPER. So tonight, we're going to have Renee Hunter, who is a civil engineer with the town of Danvers, and she's going to speak to us about the natural resources focus area, and specifically trees, which works well with the Arbor Day. So I'll let her take over.
I'm going to wait for,
No, I think he's got it. Yep,
I
he's
was waiting
good.
for the TV. Okay. Hi, good evening.
Welcome, Renee.
Thank you. I want to thank the board for having us here tonight. My name's Renee Hunter. Like Tanya said, I am a civil engineer in the engineering division of the Department of Public Works. I want to thank you also on your leadership in undertaking this program to combat climate change and greenhouse gas effects. I think we all agree Danvers is a great community, or we all wouldn't be here tonight. You wouldn't be volunteering your time. I wouldn't be here for the last 30 years of my career.
Congratulations.
And Arbor Day, that proclamation fits perfectly with what we're going to talk about. So you go back to, the CASPER plan. Climate Action, Sustainability, Preservation, and Resiliency Plan. The goals of the plan are to reduce greenhouse emissions and adapt to climate change impacts, as well as promote sustainable practices in several focus areas. Tonight, we're talking about natural resources. And there are 6 focus areas in the CASPER plan. This is being one. So there's energy, buildings, natural resources, public health and safety, transportation and land use, and solid waste. Each of these areas has an action plan with specific goals. The goals of the natural resource focus area are, as you can see, all residents have equal and equitable access to the protected and enhanced parks, forests, and open spaces in Danvers. Infrastructure and landscapes in Danvers support a healthy and diverse local ecosystem. And the water infrastructure and resources are reliable, safe, and resilient to climate change. So this is the action plan for natural resources. We're not going to talk about it all tonight. I've highlighted just so you can see just one little piece that I'll be talking about tonight. It is a goal 1.2, to protect existing tree cover and encourage tree planting, and create an inventory and planting and management plan for all town trees. So we can see why the Arbor Day proclamation really fit in well tonight. So we'll talk about the importance of trees first, and how it helps reduce greenhouse emissions and adapt to climate change. So the benefit of trees are, I think everybody understands the benefit of trees, but to go through the list, carbon sequestration, that's when the trees capture and store the carbon dioxide, and to help climate change, help mitigate the effects of climate change. Improved air quality, urban heat reduction, which I had to look that one up. That's when there's a lot of concrete pavement areas. If you plant more trees, it reduces that heat effect of just pavement and just, hard surfaces. So stormwater management, the trees absorb rainwater and help minimize runoff and flooding. Biodiversity support, the trees provide a big habitat for various species. And aesthetic value, everybody loves trees. The look of trees, right? Helps our neighborhoods, enhance property values, and the quality of life. Community health, if you have more green spaces, people tend to get out and be more active. So that helps physically and with mental health. And noise reduction. They act as sound barriers for traffic and urban activities. So how would a management program of the trees and mapping help us achieve these goals? So if we can inventory our trees and assess their condition, we can come up with strategies to keep them healthy and keep them vibrant. We can also allocate our resources better. Like most departments in town, there's a lot more work than people. So I think it would be an efficient way for the forestry department to allocate their resources and prioritize what they need to do. Public engagement, data-driven decision-making. So if you can look at a map and see, where you might need trees, which trees are healthy, maybe why, maybe they're next to something that you can see that is obvious, looking at a visual rather than just a list. Ecosystem services valuation, so you can quantify what you're doing. Emergency preparedness, we can identify trees that are at risk to, people. When there's storms, we can limb those trees before a big storm, so nothing comes down to hurt anybody or property. And regulatory compliance. The forestry division can stay within the state and local regulations. So that's the benefits. So the time frame for the implementation of the map and the management program. We have to set up a blueprint as to the steps that it's going to take to create this program and mapping. We have to get together. Travis Reardon is the forestry supervisor. He and I will get together and discuss, what attributes we want to collect for all the trees, such as size, type, a maintenance history. Newly planted trees have warranties, so we can add that to, a list of attributes for a specific tree. A maintenance program, maybe it could flash and say, this one needs watering or, needs to be visited regularly. I would say we're about 10% complete, just because we've started to talk about it and have a bit of a plan going forward. So the next slide, I've done a quick map, and it's hard to see from where you are, but there are green dots and black dots. So the green dots are public trees, and the black ones are private. And this was built using existing layers that we already have in our Geographic Information System, or GIS system. So it hasn't cost us anything to create this at this point. Now it's more filling in the blanks, size, type of tree, height, warranty information, maintenance. Photos, you could attach photos or documents to the point for the tree. So, let's see. And then we'll go, some specific information about what we do now already. Funding for the forestry department, they have an operating budget, which they get to plant about 25 to 30 trees a year. They also get money through the Chapter 90 paving reimbursement program. On newly paved streets, they are allowed, I think, a certain number of trees, depending on the length of the street. Grants, we got a grant back in 2022 for $5,000 from Keep America Beautiful to plant trees, and that was specifically targeting greenhouse gas emissions. I believe they used that even to plant next to a couple of schools to shade them, to reduce cooling costs, and also near the library for stormwater runoff. That was in 2022. And donations. Some people donate money just specifically to plant trees. Talking to Travis Reardon, their maintenance, it's the last resort to cut down a tree for them. They don't want to cut down any trees. But they'll remove some dead wood to lighten the tree, trim the limbs, and then while they're there, if there's any cavities in the tree, they check that. And all that can be linked to the point in the mapping. They do have to cut a tree. They do like to plant another one, either in the same spot or in somewhere else. And Danvers is a long-standing member of Tree City USA, 35 years by the Arbor Day Foundation. So that is where we're at with the mapping portion of the natural resources part of Casper. So, do you guys have any questions?
Questions, Maureen?
Great presentation. Yeah, I love it. And thank you for, would you say 30 years of service?
Yeah.
Wow, good.
Thanks.
Keep it going. That's great. Thank you.
Thanks. Yeah, Danvers is great. I love
Dee?
it.
Yeah, thank you. Good presentation.
Thank you.
I'm just curious. This is not in response to me asking to cut the trees at the library.
I don't know about that, but no.
It's already on the agenda, don't worry.
You just didn't do this.
Now you know why we can't do it.
Pure coincidence, I swear.
Okay. No, great presentation, and thanks for all you do. I'm just curious. So this is something that the town is doing, or this is an ask to the residents?
And ask from the residents?
No, to the resident. Like, is this a program that we're doing in town hall?
Yeah,
Or
well,
this is
it would
something
start
that
out,
we-
yes, it's for the staffing of the forestry division so that they can, keep track and maintain the trees in a better way, a more organized and efficient way.
Okay.
I'm sure we could create maps that could be used on the town's website or, for any kind of community group. So it could go both ways, but to start out, it would be used by the town staff.
Okay. And if there was one ask to the residents to participate or help this, what will it be? If someone was watching and wanted to do something about it.
I'd have to think about that. I'm not sure. We'd probably need some tree collection. I don't know if we could get a community group, like a Boy Scouts or something like that, to maybe help collect the trees. You go up to the tree, you see the size and the diameter and get information like that. So I don't know. I'd have to think about it.
Food for thought.
Yeah,
I mean, it's
thank
good
you.
that we're doing it in town hall.
Right,
But
yeah.
it's always better when we can have
Right.
the buy-in from the resident as well. And
100%.
I'm sure there's a lot of people that will want to participate.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you. All set.
Mike?
Thank you, dear. The trees that you're focused on are town property trees?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
So I'm not going to
I
get
mean, that mapping showed private trees, but that's only because I had them in my layer. So I just wanted to distinguish between
I'm not going to get a ticket
No.
for having a bad tree in
We
my
don't have
yard,
any
am I?
kind of power like that.
I might have a bad tree.
No, not at all.
All right. No, that was all. Thank you.
David?
Thank you, Dan. I'm very impressed with the sophistication of your beautiful presentation, because I remember when there was one interest, and that was the shade tree department. And that's what we were calling our, Kurt King, I think, was the superintendent for many years.
That's before my time.
And we have, yes, I know, and we have, I remember when Howdy Doody first came on. I could still sing the song. Lovely job.
Thank you.
I'm so happy for Danvers paying this much attention, and I'm glad to see resilient Danvers, because I hadn't really paid much attention to our resilient Danvers until tonight now with you, and so that's a great reminder that we are in the process of trying to stay quite resilient. Thank you
Yes.
very much.
Great, thank you. Yeah, it's, each month, I think you'll get a new, one of the focus groups. You saw Jeff Ely, I think, was here last month. So I think you have 4 more to go.
Thank you, Renee.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thanks for coming tonight. Mr. Manager, do we know where the tree's being planted on Arbor Day?
I do not, but I can find out.
Thank you. All right. Okay, thank you. The board will get a quarterly update from the police chief, Mr. Chief Lovell.
I don't know if it's working, so I might have to do it for you.
I apologize. This is a tough room for a PowerPoint with everyone facing that way. Presenting's tough too, because I'm looking at the board and I'm looking behind me at this. So hopefully at some point maybe we can transition to that screen, at least have people in the right direction. But happy to be here tonight. I'm not sure if I got the remote or not. I guess I get nothing. If I hit it twice, that'd be great.
Dan, if we could turn some of the ceiling lights off, might it be easier to view?
Yeah, too many.
That's good.
Okay. Thank you. Technology.
Very proud. I actually got a movie into the PowerPoint, which I was actually really proud about. So just a quick update on the CVS robbery that occurred on January 8, 2025. This armed robbery remains a very active investigation by the Danvers Police Department. And again, it's with the assistance of the Mass State Police and the FBI Violent Fugitive Task Force. Back on February 18th, there was a decision between myself and the FBI field office to release the video from the robbery. I think people were concerned a little bit, asking like why it took so long to release the video. Reason behind that is typically when we have video surveillance like this, we try to distribute it within law enforcement first to see if we identify suspects. And then we get to a point where we're not getting any leads law enforcement-wise, we'll do the release to the public. The FBI was very helpful. They were able to blur out all the witnesses and the victims of the crime, which would have taken us about 3 years to figure out. So they're very helpful. And also, working with the FBI was helpful because when this first happened, there was no media attention to this call. We did a press release. No one picked up on it. There was a lot going on in the media at the time. It didn't make the news. The FBI has a lot more reach than we do sometimes with the media outlets. So partnering with them helped us get the message and the word out a little bit further. But the case was not taken over by the FBI. It is still investigated by the Danvers Police Department with the assistance of the FBI. So here's some updated crime stats from January 1st till March 13th, which was last Thursday, just based on our crime analysts' ability to kind of pull information together. During this 11-week time, we've had 51 arrests, 47 summonses, 9 criminal hearings were requested, 9 warrant applications were completed, and we had 2 protective custodies. In the same time period, we had 4,755 calls for service. Again, our top locations, Recovery Center of America with 66 calls for service. That's medical aids, serving court orders, and then clients walk away from the facility, typically against medical advice. Next would be Target. Of the 66 calls, 58 involved shoplifting. Liberty Tree Mall had 58 calls for service. Again, those were youth disorders, unwanted guests, and medical aids. Walmart with 26 calls for service, mostly 911 follow-ups, medical aids, and accidents in the parking lot. And then Market Basket with 26 calls for service. Again, a lot of medical aids, accidents within the parking lot. Some traffic-related information. In the same time period, we had 192 accidents reported and 67 accident reports submitted by police officers. Again, officers submit reports based on the severity of the crime, severity of the accident, damage, whether it's on a public way versus private property. So some factors on why certain accidents are reported by officers and some aren't. End of the month, we have our CPR training. During our CPR training, all officers will be trained on the e-citation software. So on March 25th, we'll be trained on the statewide e-citation software called MAX, which is Motor Vehicle Automated Citation and Crash Systems. This will allow the officers to transition to issuing e-citations versus handwritten citations. Each cruiser was equipped with a thermal printer through a state grant about a year ago. This will help improve efficiency, accuracy, and officer safety. It's a quicker way of doing citations. It's more accurate. Basically, all the information on the driver and the vehicle is exported from the laptop to a state software program. They hit print, and they print the ticket out, hand to the operator. So it'll be, again, more efficient, more accurate, and increases officer safety, less time off the looking up and writing stuff on citations. It will also reduce time spent on data entry. Right now, all citations are hand-entered by a clerk, so it takes a long time to sit there and enter in all the different boxes in the citation. From January 1st to March 13th again, there were 295 selective enforcement activities, 549 traffic stops, 309 citations issued, and again, the top violations were 102 citations for speeding violations, 72 citations for crosswalk violations, and 41 for stop sign or traffic light violations. Youth complaints for the first 11 weeks of the year. We've received 12 youth complaints. 6 were at the Liberty Tree Mall. This is either inside the mall or the stores inside the mall. Typically, it's sometimes kids from out of town. We have a bus stop at the mall, so we have kids coming and going through the bus stop, and sometimes they bounce back and forth between the North Shore Mall and Liberty Tree Mall. We had 6 at Ocean State Job Lots, which seems like a very odd store to have complaints, but apparently that's a location some of the kids have been causing some problems at, running through the store, knocking things over. 2 were at McDonald's on High Street. 1 was at the Mill Pond, where someone called about youth being on the ice and no concern for them. And we had 1 that was related to a school incident at the Essex Tech. Some information about school resource officers. Officer Skane is now teaching the DARE curriculum to all 5th graders in the 5 elementary schools, as well as St. Mary's. The DARE bowling program began on February 1st at Sunnyside Bowling. Approximately 40-plus students have participated over in the 5-week program. That's at free cost to the students. All you need is a ride to get there, and they get free bowling, and they have a pizza party at the end of the session. We attempted to schedule a RAD program for Danvers High School seniors. That's a self-defense program. Unfortunately, we didn't get enough interest to run the program this year, so we'll have to put that off till next year. We've also accepted 4 Danvers High School seniors to complete their senior internship with the Danvers Police Department. So from April 28th to the end of May, they'll be with us for about 15 to 20 hours a week. We work at the Beverly Police Department a little bit to do some cross-training. We try to bring them to court. We try to, take them on a couple of ride-alongs, put them in a dispatch center for a while, expose them to what they like to do for a future job, hopefully. Speaking of school resource officers and programming, again, I want to say thank D.A. Tucker for being here last meeting. The last time I spoke in January. Very informative, excellent speaker, and a great partner with the police department. I also want to recognize that he had sponsored a 4-day flag football camp during February vacation that was free. It was at the middle school. They partnered with the Danvers Public Schools. They had about 80 kids. I think they said 75 to 80% were from Danvers, and they had pretty much 4 days of flag football. We went by. It was organized chaos, but they did a great job with the kids, keeping them occupied, and it was a great program, and that was funded by the District Attorney's Office, so we're very thankful to him. During our budget meeting, we talked about current staffing levels. So in case you missed that, we currently have one vacant position in the police department. We have a second position, hopefully, if the budget passes and we get approved for a second additional officer. We have one officer attending the Northern Essex Community College Academy. He's estimated to graduate in late July. We have 3 officers participating in field training. They should be completing end of April. Again, we have 3 officers on long-term medical leave, 1 officer on long-term injury. We still have 1 officer deployed to the Middle East. Hopefully, she'll be coming back next month, and we'll hopefully see her back on the street by June, hopefully. And then as of the 29th of the month, we'll have 1 vacant dispatcher position. This is a great picture from the February 28th Linfield Police Academy graduation. That's the graduating class. The poor director's stuck in the middle. You can see him kind of squished in there. These are our 3 new officers. I'm at the end here. Officer Sean Kupris, Officer Matthew Taylor, Officer Sam Vero. At the end is Officer Haley Pyburn. She's been on for about a year now, daughter of former Fire Chief Pyburn. So the 3 graduated on February 28th, and they're doing the field training process. Then on March 3rd, Student Officer John Honan started the NECC Academy. So we're excited to have him there. He made it to the first 2 weeks, which is always the hardest. So we're happy to have him on board and look forward to him graduating this summer. On March 6th, we had the swearing in for 3 new officers. Actually, Stephanie did the honors of swearing them in. And then it was nice to actually have the evening shift who came in to celebrate the night and with their families and friends. Back on February 13th, Danvers Police Department hosted a neighborhood meeting with the residents of Hyde Street. So it's pretty much the end of Hyde by Pine Street, some of the neighbors in that neighborhood. Representing the town was Acting Town Manager Rodney Conley, Aaron Henry, Lieutenant Sullivan, and myself. We had approximately a dozen residents attend and discuss traffic issues in the area, including speeding vehicles and parked cars. We had a great exchange of information, sharing data collected by our speed signs, and discuss ongoing enforcement efforts in the area to include both speed enforcement and parking enforcement. It was actually a great conversation. We had a lot of positive feedback, so definitely well worth our time and energy to put that together for the residents of the Pine and Hyde Street area. Next, we'll discuss the communication center. This has been kind of a topic that's come up a few times recently about what benefits we have to having our own center. This is the picture of the new building. The communication center is in this area here on the 2nd floor. The 1st floor is a training room. And this is a photo of our current dispatch center. There's currently 4 stations here. The new center opened in August of 2017. The center has 9 employees, 8 dispatchers, and 1 dispatch supervisor. Dispatch supervisor is a working supervisor, so he works the day shift, and he also is the supervisor of the division. It's staffed by 2 dispatchers 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, 365 days a year. The FY25 annual budget was $829,426, which is combined with the police department budget during the budget process. In FY25, we received $154,272 in state 911 grant funding to offset costs. That can be used for a combination of equipment, training, and actual staffing hours. They provide both emergency service, both Danvers Fire and Police. And they also provides after-hour service for contact service for Electric Light Division, Street Department, and Water Department. So anytime after the hours of, say, 7 to 3, 8 to 4, Monday through Friday, weekends, holidays, if you call Electric Light, Street Department, or Water Department, it rings to our dispatch center, and then they make the contacts. So they actually do that as well. We have one dispatcher who is bilingual and speaks fluent Spanish, which is extremely helpful. And we also coordinate the ambulance response with Northeast Ambulance. Some key performance indicators that were requested. So Essex County right now, this is 2023 data. This is the most recent data they have published on their website. Their total 911 calls for service was 12,507. In Danvers alone, we had 12,124 in that same year. Answered 911 calls, they had 11,862. We had 11,349. We had 115 text 911 calls. They had nothing reported for that. They had 645 abandoned calls. We had 660s. For CAD calls, they had 104,945 for all 6 communities. Danvers alone had 25,266. The answer time, the average answer time for 911, there states 90% within 15 seconds. Our time is 3.4 seconds for answering a 911 call. Some other considerations to think about. Between 2019 and 2023, the average turnover rate in the regional center was 22%. The Danvers Police Department's communication center has little turnover, with more than half the employees having 25 plus years of service to the town of Danvers. According to the report, again, they have 6 communities they serve: Amesbury, Essex, Manchester by the Sea, Middleton, Topsfield, and Wenham. These are all significantly smaller communities with much smaller populations and low calls for service. We basically would almost double their calls for service if we were ever to move over there. And then also, moving to a regional center means we lose local control over our center. Right now, we have complete control over our center. If the fire chief wants to implement a new policy or procedure, we sit down with the supervisor, we discuss it, we implement it. Same with the police department. If we have a disciplinary issue, we deal with it. If we have anything that we want to change, we deal with it. Going to a regional, we become one of 6, 7, 8 members on advisory board that votes on changes. So we lose a lot of local control, which isn't, I don't think, beneficial. Some clarification on some comments that been made in the past. One thought was that the state already gets all the originated 911 calls through cell phones. So any landline or 911 call made on a cell phone in Danvers comes to the Danvers Police Department's communication center. The only ones that do not come to us possibly are on Route 128, Route 1, and 95. They typically do go to the regional center and they transfer them to us. With that said, it's not uncommon for us to actually get those calls on those highways, depending where the car is, depending where the cell tower is. So that's not 100% true. But we do receive all the cell phone and landline and text 911 calls in Danvers. There was a question about familiarization with the towns, and that the regional center would actually, do some familiarization with the communities. From our understanding, they typically arrive between 2 or 3 hours with the community while they're hired. Doesn't give them a lot of time to get to know the community, especially someone as big as we are as a town, with the amount of residential, commercial areas in town, which is constantly changing. Our dispatchers know the officers, the firefighters, and the community members in the community geography, which is extremely important. Our dispatchers are well versed in our policies and our standing operating procedures governing the Danvers Police Department and the fire department, and they attend specific training to ensure their knowledge is up to date, specific to our community needs. Our dispatchers are our lifeline to the community. Their strong relationship with us, officers, the firefighters, and the community members are crucial to our success. Replicating this local understanding and commitment in a large regional center would be a huge challenge, and I don't think would be beneficial to the town or the residents. We talked a little bit about at the budget meeting. Too far. Oh. Okay, I'll go on to the next section. Recently, we had some discussion about grants and what grants the police department receives. So we write our own grants at this point in time. So in the last three fiscal years, FY 23, 24, and 25, we received $724,824 worth of grants. Our most significant ones are the traffic grant that provides us the ability to purchase equipment. Lieutenant Sullivan just purchased a new speed sign that can be put in the community, and also allows us to do enforcement efforts. Usually month by month, they have a different enforcement effort. They'll go from crosswalks to bicycle safety to distracted driving. So each month they give us a itinerary of what we can do, and we try to we use that time to send officers out to do additional traffic enforcement. The state 911 grant we mentioned earlier can be used for training, salaries, and equipment. And then we have the jail diversion grant, which pays for our clinician at the police department. Another question that came up during the budget hearing was what type of training the police department receives. So each year, the MPTC, which the Municipal Police Training Council, outlines the training curriculum for the year. So for training year 25, which we're completing by July 1st, officers attended a 3-hour training on freedom of speech, 3 hours on freedom and hate speech, crimes, and groups, 3 hours on use of force, 3 hours on freedom of assembly and crowd management, 6 hours of legal update, 3 hours of load your backpack. What that was, it's an officer wellness and teaching officers how to deal with the stress of the job in a healthy manner and not let it weigh you down and take over your life. And so it's very helpful for the officer safety and officer wellness. 3 hours of freedom to communicate, deaf and hard of hearing, and victims of human trafficking. 6 hours of CPR and first responder. 4 hours of taser training. 2 hours of autism and law enforcement education training. 8 hours of firearm training. So right there are 44 hours of mandated training that every officer must attend, in addition to training bulletins and policy updates throughout the year.
Can I ask something? Can we ask questions?
Yeah, go ahead.
now? What about mental health training? Is there anything?
So it goes year by year. So last year we had a lot of mental health training. This year there's a lot of freedom of speech, crowd controls. With the election coming, I think they really want to push out, if we see problems, how do we deal with them properly? So every year a survey is sent out to the chiefs of police. We all fill out the survey, and they dictate the training from that. And then on top of this training, if you're in a specialty, whether you're in detectives, if you're a school resource officer, there's additional training on top of this 44 hours of training. But this is the bare minimum each officer attends each year. Next, I have our future proposed dates for June 17th and September 16th. And
I think we
questions?
changed that 6th September one.
Okay. So
Check the calendar with Ann.
if you have any questions, I'd be happy to try to answer them.
Mike, any questions?
Yes, please. Thanks, Chief. There's a lot of good information there. Can you tell me about the 4 injured officers? How did they get their injuries?
We have 3 who are on sick, so that's outside of work. We have 1 officer who was injured on duty. He was responding to a residence. A dog came out of the house, attacked him while trying to retreat. He had fell down and injured himself.
And the other 3, did you say were just?
They're outside personal medical issues that they're dealing with outside of work.
Okay. It leads me into the next thing. I had said it the other day at the budget meeting, and I'd like to start the conversation that you have a lot of training, but I think a little bit more training would be good in self-defense.
Mm-hmm.
And the reason why I say that is because we're going to get a better end result. It's still a physical job, and people are still going to be confrontational. And I could see there's a lot of training on how to diffuse situations and a lot of knowledge there that's excellent. I just think that we should promote it as a board, maybe, get in some Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, Muay Thai, and I say it out loud because it's not happening across the board, not just here. And when it happens, these fights take place, it's like that. So if you have people that are confident in their hand-to-hand combat, nobody gets hurt, public doesn't get hurt, officers don't get hurt, we don't have people out injured because everybody's even that much more trained. So I'm just hoping that we can have more conversation about that, and maybe it's something we can implement. Is there any data on the regional dispatch as far as errors with all the, yeah, I know, with all the communities that they're dealing with, are they sending people off different places, or?
There's not a lot of data there is some data in some of the information they share as far as like complaints from departments and that's information, but nothing as far as efficiency, no, that I'm aware of.
I hope we wouldn't lose our dispatch center.
I
think it's-
agree. I think it's a huge part of our community, and it really makes a difference for the offices, the firefighters, and the community as well. You know.
Let's see, what else did I have? You answered the monthly tickets. Did you end up finding out any kind of a ticket revenue number?
I did not. I can look into that for you. That would probably be through Ronnie's office, because I don't think we see the conclusion after traffic appeals. I think it's just deposit to the town, but we can look into that.
Oh, okay, yeah. I think that's all I have at the moment. Thank you.
Thank you, Mike. Maureen?
Yeah, good presentation, Chief. Did I count 6 positions were down? Is that right?
Technically, 1 open. We have
Okay.
3 in field training, 1 in the academy. That's 4 who are in training, 1 vacancy, and then hopefully that additional spot come July 1st if it's approved by the budget
Good,
process.
yeah, hopefully you'll get that extra. It's much needed. With Board Member Bean, I think if we could, I think mental health is very important. If we could, I'm surprised they don't all do it every year. You know, like you said, the chiefs,
Well,
right?
the unpack your backpack, it is a mental health training, more so for the offices than the community. All of our offices, it's by contract, attend a 40-hour CIT training. So all our offices, I think I'm the only person in the department who's not CIT trained is me. And when I was on patrol, it just wasn't available. But it's a 40-hour class that is crisis intervention training. It teaches about de-escalation. It teaches about medication. So if you go on a call, you say, oh, they're on X, Y, and Z. They might have these issues going on. It's an excellent training. The 3 new officers are going to a class in Beverly, I believe, in mid-May. So our 3 new recruits will be going through that 40 hours of mental health training in that date.
Well, that's good. A lot of hours they put in. It's good. Good news on the grants. Who writes or who applies for the grants?
So again, our dispatch center, Brian Pratt, our dispatch supervisor, he does all the 911 grants.
Okay.
Sergeant Kalala, who's in charge of the juvenile division, he does the traffic grants, and Lieutenant Balls, he does the mental health grants.
Okay.
Right now, there's actually a big concern in Massachusetts. Essex Chiefs is really trying to get the word out to our legislators. We had a breakfast in Essex County earlier this month. There's a proposal to cut that mental health funding in the budget this year significantly, which would affect our ability to maintain having a clinician with us 3 days a week. So that is a concern.
And let's see. That was nice about the district attorney sponsoring that flag football. That's
It was
really
great.
good.
Again, the kids
Be
had a
tight with him.
blast.
Yeah. And I love the fact that reaching out to the neighbors in the neighborhoods. I think that's good. I've driven by a lot of police. I see more presence with traffic stops, which is really good. I think that's great. And how are we doing with the presence in the square? You know,
Good. You know, again, as the warm weather gets going, I know this last couple days have been nice. We'll see more and more people down the town with that. And then during early release times as well, you'll see more offices downtown.
and I don't know if it's appropriate to ask, but how are the bike group? How's that going?
It's been quiet.
It's been quiet? They're
It's
not?
winter time, so most of them are hibernate for the winter, but I'm sure they'll be out in the next couple of weeks.
Okay.
And, we'll be out having conversations and interacting with them. And
Okay, good. Yeah, we don't want anything else to happen again. Thank you. That's it.
Thank you. Dee?
Yes, thank you, Chief. Great presentation and a lot of information. Kudos to the department, yourself, and all the officers for all they do day in and day out. I like the training. I like the DARE program and the RAD. I believe the more you're seen in a less threatening way, the better it is. I'm reminded of Lieutenant Carlton, retired, who told me once, we are all programmed to fear police. You know, he said his nightmare was when he would be at the mall and a child would be misbehaving. and the parent will see him and say, I'll have the police come get you. And we're programming that child to be fearful of police growing up. And that's why it's so important to train people on de-escalation. Because where most people come from, that is how they grew up. That's how they were programmed. So it's not their fault. It's just the way we all did it at some point. I have done it to my kids. and Lieutenant Carlton will always tell me that's the worst thing you can do, because that child should be trained to go toward police if he's in trouble or she's in trouble than to fear police. So kudos for the training. I hope we continue. I participated a few years back, if you recall, for the police accreditation for our town. Very extensive process, and kind of saw firsthand all of the things that you do day in and day out. I can't just stress enough how important it is, at least from my perspective, to be out in the community in a non-threatening way so that we can build those connections. And then when the fight comes, it will come at some point, but how do we minimize that and make it less likely to happen? A quick question about the bike kids at the square. Have we thought of like a campaign, I don't know, on TikTok or Instagram, I don't know, something to kind of start to raise awareness with the school and the families on the behavior as the weather gets nicer?
Yep, we haven't thought of doing TikToks yet, which a few officers outside that might be good at doing something like that. But we have been working with Superintendent Bauer, with Mass DOT. We're hoping to bring back in a program this spring at the schools, talking about bike safety, talking about crosswalk safety, and doing programs at elementary and middle school age, because that's the 5th grade to middle school is what our target audience is. So we have discussed that with Superintendent and Mass DOT, so that's kind of the process. We're hoping to do a bike walk to school day with the superintendent in the schools, so we'd work with the schools to kind of do like a walk to school day. My wife's a teacher in Beverly. They do it very often when they meet at a park down the street, and all the teachers and students walk to school that day. That was something we would do with the school as the police department, walking with the students. So there are ideas like that are out there. We're working on those types of things. And like I said, I agree with making connections. You know, the DARE bowling, the DARE program, the school resource offices, they interact with the kids day in and day out. And that's their goal, is to build positive relationships with them. They still have, they still have to set the rules sometimes and enforce the rules, but that's their main goal, is to be a connection. They do a lot of talks about a trusted adult program, like, who do you have as a trusted adult that you can go to if you have a problem? So they have those conversations with the kids, and some of our school resource officers have actually been named by students as their person, that if I needed something, I know I can go to Officer Scannington Middle School and talk to him about a problem. So again, that's one of our big goals, is to really enforce that connection.
No, thank you very much. And for the kids on the bike, I think, it's a good thing to start to plan and do those things. I haven't seen anything personally, but the kids now are in the digital space, love it or hate it. That's the way they communicate. That's the way they hear things. That's the way they see things. So I think really thinking of sending some of those short, it could be 10 seconds, 20 seconds information out to the kids as the weather get nice, good, and just raise awareness. And that can come from other kids too, talking to their peers as to what a good behavior looks like when you're biking down the square. Thank you. Thanks for all you do.
Chief, I assume the officers out there aren't undercover.
No, they're not.
So can you bring them and introduce them?
Sure.
So the public knows them?
So first in is Officer Corey Capella. He's one of our evening shift officers, and then Officer Danae Tully is also assigned to the evening shift. They're both, how many years? About 2.5, 3 years? 3. Fourth year, okay. Corey, and they do a great job. Happy to be here, I'm sure.
I used to know everybody on the force, not any longer.
It's crazy, the turnover we've had. I keep a chart in my office. It's color-coded by, 0 to 9 years, and it's the 0 to 9 years it's a big group. And
All right. Well, you need young officers.
We do.
Good.
You know,
Thank you for doing the job. David, any questions?
Just a little, if I may, Dan. My ears aren't working, my eyes aren't working. Good evening, Jamie. Number one, I think that you did an excellent presentation, and I think the presentation like this is very healthy for the community to be in touch with their police department. And so, nice job tonight. Then I have my own little program called Wave a Hello. For the past 5 or 10 years, anytime I've driven by a Danvers police officer in any kind of duty or stopped at a traffic, I always wave, and I don't do it to get a wave back, but more and more through the years I get a wave back. And I have always sensed, and I know I'm old, and he gives me the dickens every time I say that, but there has always been a tension between police and citizens, and why not? The citizen and the police usually come in contact, unfortunately, in an uncomfortable situation like a traffic stop. And it's changing, and it's changing, I think, from a very good attitude, especially in our department, which you lead, and you do a wonderful job with that. I also are we ever going to have computer citations? I recently saw one of my friends got a citation in the mail. It was from the Pennsylvania Highway Department with our $100 fee, with a computer printout of his speeding when he was going 70 and a 50 mile an hour, and a picture of his license plate. Pretty hard to contest. And I just thought it was really interesting. And I suppose that's something that when happens in Massachusetts, it'll begin with a state or federal funding program.
yeah, there's nothing that I'm aware of now as far as like red light cameras or speed cameras. Not to open a can of worms, there has some towns trying out the bus cameras. That's probably the closest we've come to it, is having the cameras on the buses that do bus violations. So, you know, going past the bus while the stop sign's out.
Gotcha. I remember
Salem
that.
and Peabody are piloting programs right now. A good friend of mine works for Salem. He's in charge of the program. It's not perfect by any means. The law was not written very well. There's a lot to it, and there's a lot of expense to it. So that's the closest Massachusetts has come to electronic surveillance for doing like stop signs or speeding. That's the closest they've come to, and that's just a pilot program now.
Finally, I have known our police chiefs personally in this town for the last 60 years, and I think that you do a wonderful job of a very, very difficult job, and thank you for your efforts. Thank you, Dan.
Thank you, David. Anyone in the audience, questions or comments? Yes, ma'am? Hello. Go to the microphone and introduce yourself, please.
Hi, my name is Catherine from Precinct 1. I would like to know if it's a possibility to bring back the auxiliary police, and if not, why would that be a bad idea?
Thank you.
Basically, when post and police reform came into effect, they changed the training. So before, if you wanted to be reserve and auxiliary, I started an auxiliary in Wenham, you go to the Reserve Academy, and you could work as a part-time reserve officer. With the police reform, they changed that. Now every officer has to be full-time academy trained. So there's no more reserve academies. There's no more reserve office. Well, there's no more new reserve officers unless you were grandfathered through the bridge program. So it,
A former officer cannot be an auxiliary police?
they could, as long as they maintain their certification. So right now, we actually worked through the last contract with the police union to allow retirees to work details. So if you retire from the Danvers Police Department in good standing, you maintain your post-certification, you can do details, work road jobs and details.
It's a possibility Danvers could utilize some more of that?
We can do it for details for retirees, but we couldn't do auxiliaries. That doesn't work anymore. If we were to take a 22-year-old young man or woman and say, we're going to spend $35,000, $40,000 to send you to the academy, they're going to graduate and they're going to go, oh, I'm going to go over to Salem, Topsfield. It's tough to keep them. So.
Okay. Anyone else? Kevin?
So I have asked, I think, probably the most questions.
Introduce yourself for the folks at home.
Excuse me, Dan. Thank you. Kevin Barrich, 34 Poplar Street, Precinct 4, but barely, just hanging on the edge. So I think I've asked more questions than anyone about the dispatch center, and definitely asked for that data that we saw tonight. And I believe the quantitative data was about even with a slight edge for local. I think the qualitative analysis certainly points towards local. So I believe the chief and others in their professional judgment that it is quantitatively and qualitatively better. I think the challenge we're going to come to, I think we've had a number of, we're going to hopefully get a new officer this year through this budget process. I think there's a general feeling on the board that we need even more officers than that, at least from some members. We're, I think $100,000 away from levy, right, with our proposed budget. So it's going to be a real challenge. I believe that it's better. I think the board has some tough decisions when the study's done to see how many more officers we need, if we need more officers, to then figure out how to pay for that. And so we're right up against levy. If you want to pay for something new, it means cutting somewhere, I think, as the board knows. So tough decisions ahead, but I really do say thank you for addressing my persistent questions over the last couple of years. And no doubt in my mind that it's that it's better. I think we all wish communities had joined us in a regional approach, and we had been the regional service provider. That's certainly why we built the center that way. But that did not come to pass. So, thank you.
Anyone else? All right, Chief, thank you very much for coming. We'll see you in June.
Sounds good.
All right, thank you all. Good night, Renee. Good night, Stephen. Okay. Now we'll have new public business. Anyone, new public business? Mark?
Now I know why we have the public business in the beginning, because I learned something tonight, so I thank you for making me stick it out all this time. But I don't want to thank you too much. My issue, when I brought it up earlier, is that the current agenda that was distributed had a lot of proclamations, resolutions, quarterly reports. And as you know, the residents of Danvers, through my efforts, have been asking for a resolution by the Board of Selectmen in regards to the constant expansion at the Beverly Airport, specifically on the west side of the airport itself. Now, today I spent 3 or 4 hours at the high school, and it's constant traffic right now. With these new hangars that are coming on board, we're going to experience more. The resolution, as you remember, it was requested on December 17th, 2024, 3 months ago. And I've been constantly reminding the board that this is something that we need. Well, we do need it, and what I like to report to the board is that the Mass Environmental Protection Agency has sent us a letter basically stating that our appeal in regard to the contested conditions at the airport have been denied. So I urge the Board of Selectmen to get this proclamation or resolution, whatever you want to call it. I put one together and I submitted it, and I think we need that immediately. So,
Thank you, Mark. If I may, I asked my fellow board members to come up with their thoughts and pass them on to the manager's office. I think we only got one response to date. Is that correct, Ronnie, or did you get more?
I received one at this point.
One at this point.
well, one is more than what we have right now, and that's the reason I'm bringing this up every single meeting.
Okay.
And I'll continue that because it is impacting our residents. The other item that I want to bring up as a result of the chief's presentation is that we have extended our efforts very well, and it's working. But I want to remind everyone that we've had community policing forever. And I wonder what has happened to the community policing efforts, because we used to have a policeman down in the square. They used to stop at every shift change or middle of the shift change, and they would communicate with the residents. And like you said, we used to know them. Right now, we don't. And when I came in, I looked at the door and I said, what is this, the protective agency here? No, it's not. But we do have many new officers, and they are welcome. But the thing is, they need to get to know the residents as well, because the residents reflect the culture of this town. So that's my only comment, but I strongly urge that this board get the proclamation or resolution, whatever you want, out on the street, because residents are suffering with the expansion that's going on with the town.
Thank you, Mr. Zuberik. Anyone else do public business? Yes, ma'am.
Oh,
Oh, wait a minute. Hold it.
I have one more thing.
We'll get back to you. Oh, she's going to defer to you.
Got my shadow over here. On tomorrow evening at Riverside School, there'll be a presentation by
Tomorrow or Thursday?
Thursday, sorry. I'm
okay.
a day ahead. Crease & Cook tannery site will be discussed as how the Superfund site is going to be handled. This was done about 3 years ago, and they ran out of money. Now they seem to have money. I don't know how long that's going to last, but that's something that's going on, so residents should be aware of that, because it's going to affect both ends of that Crease & Cook tannery site.
Thursday, 6:30, Riverside School, correct?
Correct.
That is
Thank
correct.
you. Thank you. Anyone else? Yes, ma'am.
Hi, Catherine again, Precinct 1. I think the person I need the answer from may have left. But as far as the tree mapping in town, is this already included in our budget?
It was something they had already had on file. She just showed it as an example of where the public versus private trees currently are. It's from the GIS map.
Okay, so my question, I guess, is, will it cost taxpayers more money, or could it in the future?
We have a tree warden. I think they're just trying to develop a program for him to implement.
Okay, I just wanted
I
to
don't
know if it would affect.
Yeah, I don't know if he's going to ask for more help or not, but
Okay, thank you.
you're welcome. Anyone else? Nope. All right, thank you all for staying tonight. Let's see, the town manager will report to the, oh, what's that?
You have to close the public hearing?
It was public business.
Business, okay.
Yep, thank you. The manager will report to the board on various items of interest. Mr. Conley.
Through you, Mr. Chairman, there'll be a public meeting Thursday night at 6:30 at the Riverside School related to the creasing. Thank you, Mark. So yeah, we encourage everyone to attend. I believe there's some type of hybrid option, but I've yet to find that. So again, I would assume to be there at the Riverside, but keep checking the website in case there's some type of Zoom option as well. We encourage everyone to attend that. Thank you for everyone who attended or watched the budget hearing on Saturday. We had a long, robust day that was very productive. The next step in that process will be the Select Board warrant review. That'll take place at the Tuesday, April 1st Select Board meeting. It'll continue Thursday, April 3rd, if necessary. That'll be the Select Board warrant review. From there, we'll move on to the Finance Committee hearings. Those will take place Monday, April 14th, Wednesday, April 16th, and Thursday, April 17th. Again, in this room, 7 o'clock. And then following that, it'll be Finance Committee warrant review, April 28th and Wednesday, April 30th. Again, 7 o'clock in this room, all leading up to town meeting in May. And then my last update is actually to turn it over to our Assistant Town Clerk, Stephanie Jaros, who has some information on the ongoing election process.
Thank you. So just a reminder that the annual town election is Tuesday, May 6th. There are currently still a few seats open in precinct 1, 3, 4, 5, and 8. Nomination papers are due back by March 25th by 5 p.m. To date, we have received 43 vote-by-mail applications. If you are looking to vote by mail, we have those applications in the town clerk's office or online at on our website. For those interested in early voting, in-person early voting will be held April 26th from 10 a.m. to 4 p.m. This is also the last day to register to vote for the annual town election. And I'm happy to answer any questions.
Any questions for the clerk? Hearing none? Nope. Thank you, Stephanie.
Of course.
All right. Is that your report, Mr. Manager?
That is, Mr. Chairman.
The next item, the board will vote to close the warrant for 2025 annual town meeting on March 21 at noon. That's this Friday. Get the calendar out. Any questions, board members? I would need a motion.
I'll make a motion as presented.
The motion is to close the warrant for the 2025 annual meeting on Friday, March 21 at noon. Is there a second?
Second.
Oh, you made the motion.
Oh, yeah, sorry. I'm tired.
Is there a second?
Saturday killed me.
Is there a second?
I think David seconded.
David did, thank you.
Point of clarification,
Yes.
Mr. Chairman. Does that mean, are we going to meet for that? Does that require us to have a meeting? Or?
No, we're making the motion so it's closed, and then we'll hear the warrant at our first meeting in April.
Okay.
But that's the last date anything can be presented for town meeting
I see.
consideration.
Okay.
So a positive vote tonight would be helpful. We had a motion, and we had a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye, opposed, none. Thank you. The board will consider the consent calendar. Is there a motion?
I move that we accept the consent calendar as presented.
Is there a second?
Second.
Discussion. Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye, thank you. Selectmen's closing comments, new business. D?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I will start by thanking everyone who emailed and spoke to me or called within the past few weeks. Thanks for your input. I really appreciate. Our town, I believe, is stronger because of the residents like you who get involved in the process. And I would just encourage you all to continue to be engaged. Something that I wanted to say when the motorcycle safety awareness members were here, I was reminded as we were reading that proclamation of a quote from Eleanor Everett that said, safety is not a gadget, but a state of mind. It's so important as we go through the better weather to remind us, and a proclamation like the one we did today is really about that, to stay safe on the road and have that mindset that we have to adopt And I just hope that, all the riders of Danvers and people going through Danvers have an enjoyable and safe spring and summer. So thank you.
All set?
All set.
Thank you. David?
Thank you, Dan. Back to the motorcycles. It's been 12 years that I have supported Mr. Trask, my dear friend, as he has supported the motorcycle people. And for 12 years, I've said, couldn't you put some cotton batten or steel wool into the pipes? And I say the same thing when the poor neighbors talk about the loud noise from those stupid planes taking off. Why can't they be quiet? Because I know people with motorcycles you can't even hear. So I vote, because I don't want to be okay for the motorcycle people, but I really wish you wouldn't make so much noise. Thanks, that's all.
Thank you. Michael?
Thank you, Dan. I wanted to bring up the Beverly Airport, since Mark is here. Our new seat, Todd, I spoke to him after he went to the meeting, and I think he's going to work out really well. I feel confident. He's got a lot of energy. He's smart, and if we are able to form a committee on this side that will support our seats over there, people that will do the research and find out what we can do to make Beverly the best neighbor they can be. I think that we can gain some ground, and with the new town manager, she won't have to deal with those grumpy fishermen anymore. She can be focused on the airport. Yeah, the pilots. So I think we can, on that, I think we can move forward. I feel confident about that.
Dan, may I
Yes.
just say one more thing?
Please.
About the airport. No one likes to hear this, and I don't like to say it. But as far as I'm concerned about the airport, we are up against a multi-trillion-dollar industry that is running trillions of planes across the nation and the world every single day. And I think that Gardner says it best and recently said it again. He can speak for himself. Any thought that we have any control whatsoever has to begin with the Congress of the United States. And I don't like it, because I come out of the YMCA in the morning and I'm hearing those stupid planes, but I don't think that local government has any power whatsoever to help the situation. And I won't, and I'll never speak about it again. Thank you.
Mike, were you done?
Let me just wrap it up here, if you don't mind, Dan. I think that the new director over there, the young guy, is, I think we can work with him. Yeah, I think we can work with him, and I think he wants us to communicate with him. So I don't feel like, I think we have some room there to make improvements.
Well, I hope so.
That's all I have to say. Thank you.
Thank you. Maureen?
And I'll just go piggyback on that, too. I mean, we want to help the residents with the Beverly Airport. That was one of the questions we asked the new town manager, maybe with some pull and some help from her, that we can get some, some guidance on how we can, like Judge Mills does say, it is a big nut, but let's tackle it if we can all work together. We need to stop, the expansion if we can, and the noise, the pollution, everything. I know Tony's neighborhood's right there, too, and, thank you, Mark, and the group for giving it all. And I think what Select Board Member Bean says about the subcommittee is good, and tackle it all together, and then we'll try to see if we can get some good results from that. With regards to the budget hearing, that went well on Saturday. It's about 7 hours, which we did well. Thank you for everybody that came and attended that. Also, I go to the Danvers Cares, which is a great group, Dan. I'm glad I got that group. I really enjoy that. That's on Monday afternoons, once a month at the Danvers High School. And if anybody wants to come, it really opens up some eyes with kids with anxiety, and ways and services that we can help the people. And I want to say thank you to the presenters, the chief and the engineer, and looking forward. Thank you, Rodney, for what you've been doing, too. And, I think it'll be hopefully a nice transition to a new town manager. And thank you for my colleagues. I think we voted the right decision. Thank you.
Thank you. So, piggyback on Danvers Cares, I'm part of a group right now that's formulating plans for a Light the Night Purple event in May. Good group of people working on it. The issue now is trying to pick a date, so I'm backing off. Whatever date they pick, we're fine. But it'd be the first or second week in May, so we look forward to that. It's always a well-attended event with us. The community can come out and help support people that are in recovery. If you see a veteran, please say thank you for their service. And if there's no other business to come before the board, the meeting is adjourned.
Point of order?
Yes, sir.
I believe you have a piece of correspondence from me that I asked to be read at this board meeting.
I'm not aware of that.
In your inbox.
Okay. Well, you want to read it?
Let's see if I can pull it up on my phone. Give me a minute.
Do you sign it?
I'll resend it to you, Dan.
Thank you. I wasn't aware that you wanted it read.
The title of it said correspondence for next select board meeting.
I'll look for it for the next meeting. Is that all right, Coley?
I wish it were tonight, but
I understand.
because it was a timely email about.
Yeah, all these emails say no replies, Civics Plus. I don't see one with your name necessarily at the, I'll have to look at each one, see which one it is. No other business to come before the board? Meeting is adjourned. Thank you all for coming.
Thank you.